Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Justin Hogan. I'm the Program Officer for Economic Equity here at the Community Foundation of Louisville, and I'm thrilled to be here with two of my favorite colleagues and coworkers, the incredible Miss Donna Brown, our Senior Associate for Community Leadership, and just the incomparable Lisa Bajorinas, who is our Project Director for the Vogt Awards and also the Executive Director of the Kentucky Science and Technology Corporation. Please correct me if I got that one wrong, Lisa. Great. So just as a tiny bit of housekeeping here, we are recording this this webinar. It will be posted on the Foundation's website for those who were not able to join us today. If you have any questions, please go ahead and throw them in chat as we're going through this presentation so that we can certainly address them on the other side. We are also absolutely planning to leave a robust amount of time for Q&A for folks to come off camera, ask any questions, and we are happy to, answer anything that we can to make this as seamless a process as we can. So really quick, just to offer a tiny bit more context before I hand it off to Lisa. The Vogt Awards is in its 25th year, which is really, really incredible, of being presented by the Community Foundation of Louisville. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the foundation, for the last 40 plus years, we have mobilized and activated capital, people, and networks to spark meaningful and measurable change in and beyond Louisville. And we do that by being a trusted organization for both donors and nonprofits. That is basically a word salad to say that we connect folks who want to make impact with programs and organizations who are delivering impact. And hang on to that because I'm going to come back to it really quick. One of the ways in which we try to deliver that impact, or one of the focus areas that we have, is around economic development, economic freedom, economic activity, that is intended to generate positive outcomes here in Louisville. 25 years ago, an incredible gentleman by the name of Henry Heiser Sr., who was a celebrated entrepreneur in Louisville, decided that he wanted to set the conditions for the next generation of successful entrepreneurs just like him. So he created a permanent endowment fund with the Community Foundation that was the seed for the Vogt Awards. Over the last 25 years, we are incredibly proud to say that we have invested over $4 million into 108 different companies who have gone on to raise over $200 million for a community foundation that is not super baked and steeped in startups. We are very, very proud of that impact and of the companies and entrepreneurs who have generated that impact. We're also incredibly proud to say that 41% of the companies that we have invested in have had either a female founder or a founder of color. So when we're talking about economic equity and like setting up the conditions for folks to succeed, we're deeply proud to be able to demonstrate that as impact. So really with that, I'm going to hand it off to Lisa, who's going to kind of pilot us through really the rest of the session to talk about what we're looking for in candidates and how you go through that process. So Lisa, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Justin. And everyone, welcome to our info session today. This is always a great milestone each year because we want to bring in as many interested startups and you all as founders and entrepreneurs into this particular opportunity. I've had the pleasure of being associated with the Vogt Awards through the Community Foundation since 2013, and how it has evolved and changed and grown and continues to support the startup community and economic development within our larger Louisville region. So it is absolutely my pleasure to walk you through a little bit about our agenda today. I am going to take some time just to describe for you what the Vogt Awards are as a program, as a funding mechanism for your business. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we're looking for in terms of the eligibility criteria. I will share with you our scoring rubric that our 2 rounds of judges will use, so you will know that right up front. I'm going to share with you some important dates that you may want to make note of as we proceed through this year's program. And then I'll share with you some really pertinent information to take a look at and where it's located on the Vogt Awards webpage on the CFL site. We'll show you where the application is using the GUST portal. And then I am going to walk you through the questions. I'll do that fairly quickly, but I do want to let you know that that's basically what we're going to cover. And again, to reiterate, if you want to drop any questions into the chat, we are definitely going to have time to answer those either through the chat, or if you prefer to ask them on camera online here today, we will capture that. And again, we're recording this session and we'll have it posted to the Vogt webpage. So let's jump in and get started. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about what are the Vogt Awards. In its history, the Community Foundation, through the Vogt Fund, has traditionally provided grant funding, which it is very well known for, to startups in the Louisville region. And then in 2013, we made a decision to really augment the program and create what we call a startup accelerator program that wraps a lot of support for the founders and the startups that are selected into each year's cohort in addition to the funding. So the program itself that a recipient is selected to is a 10-week rigorous startup accelerator program. So it is 10 weeks, it's in person, and that does happen on Thursday afternoons, and we'll talk about those dates in just a minute. We have also traditionally provided $25,000 in non-dilutive grant funding to each recipient, to each startup recipient. Non-dilutive just simply means that you, as the founder of the business, you give up no ownership. You continue to own 100% of your business. That grant funding is given to you in 2 tranches. But new this year, because it's the 25th anniversary, every recipient has the option to take an additional $25,000 through an equity investment, and that is through a safe note. We will talk about what a safe note is, but the important thing to know is every startup selected receives $25,000 grant funding plus the option of $25,000 in an investment. So potentially there's $50,000 on the table this year, and we are so very excited to be able to offer that to the companies selected to this year's cohort. During the program, recipients will receive really amazing startup coaching from experienced founders and advisors. You will be matched individually with your own mentor who will also work with you during the program. You will have access to many of our Vogt Award alumni who have gone on to do just wonderful things with their businesses or have exited their business. They may have started another business as well. So you come into what we call the Vogt Award family. I will be making a number of introductions on your behalf that are strategic in nature to investors in our network, as well as significant community introductions for you. You know, the benefit of being in a cohort is that you get to share in the camaraderie with your peers. Those that are also selected with you this year also offer tremendous advice and counsel and experience that they will share, because this is rigorous, this is fast-paced, and we know that when you can lean on and lean in with each other, that adds a lot of value to the program. And then, importantly, we culminate the entire program after our 10 weeks with Demo Day. Demo Day is where each of the companies selected to the program will have an opportunity to present their business to the larger Louisville community, right? We get a great turnout for that. We want to share and celebrate with you the accomplishment of having progressed through the Vogt Awards program. So we look forward to that. All right, let's jump over into who is an ideal candidate and what we're looking for. First of all, your business must be for profit. So it is a for-profit business. You need to have your business headquartered in the Louisville metro area. And in the Louisville metro area, in southern Indiana, you can be located in Clark, Floyd, or Harrison counties. And if you're in Kentucky, right in that Louisville region, we're looking at Bullitt, Jefferson, Oldham, Shelby, or Spencer counties. This constitutes our Louisville region where your business needs to be located to be eligible. We also want to be sure that your business is registered with the Secretary of State, whether that's in Kentucky or whether that's in Indiana, either way, and that your business is identified as being in good standing. That is an item that we will check. So I encourage you to check now that A, you're registered, and then B, it does say that your business is in good standing. In my experience, if it should say that your business is not in good standing, usually that just simply means you may have forgotten to submit a prior annual report to the Secretary of State. You can easily click on a button there to submit the most current annual report, and that will be fixed. But know that I will check to make sure you are registered and in good standing on behalf of the foundation. So we are looking for businesses that are beyond the stage of, I have an idea, I have a concept. We are past that. We're beyond that. We're looking for businesses that are utilizing technology in some capacity to deliver or launch an innovative product or service to solve a particular problem in your industry. There are two thresholds we look for. You cannot have raised more than $250,000 per year in customer revenue, so less than $250,000 in revenue. And then also, you cannot have raised more than $1 million of investment in your business. Those are some changes from last year. We have expanded the amount of capital raise you can have raised this year. And so that's going to allow us hopefully to have, like stage or similarly staged businesses that are selected into the cohort. And when we talk about the $1 million, that includes any previous grant funding, that includes any other non-dilutive forms of funding, any other equity investment. It does not include any founder personal investment in your business. If you have not raised any money previously, if you have no customer revenue at this point, perfectly fine. We're just putting some maximum thresholds there so that we can have a cohort that is in similar stage together. And then, of course, your business must be independent, not a subsidiary or part of another business or simply a corporate spinout. Independent business. All right. So I wanted to share with you just who is in the Vogt Awards family. These are some of our Vogt Awards alumni. I'm hoping that some of these companies are familiar to you. We bring a really great array and a very industry agnostic group of businesses together that represent some of our notable alumni that you may be familiar with. So any of the companies that are selected to the Vogt Awards cohort are in very good company, and many of these folks, you will be part of their network and their community as well. So I thought it would be good to share with you just what are some of the things you might want to have at your disposal or have ready when you're preparing to apply for the Vogt Awards, right? These are some great kind of a list just to make sure you have these particular things either thought through or handy as you go ahead and apply. So first of all, you will want to have a one-sentence elevator pitch, as we call it. This is a single sentence that describes what your business is. You'll also want maybe about a one paragraph or a couple of sentence business summary that expands on that elevator pitch available. You'll definitely want to have a description of what is the problem that your business is solving for in the market and about your solution. Just a really tight, crisp definition of what your solution is prepared to do. We want to hear about the capabilities of your team. You know, what is the expertise, the background, the education, if it's appropriate, that makes your team the team that's going to deliver your particular startup in the market. You'll want to have a nice description about what's the market opportunity. Why is the timing right for your solution into the market at this point? What is the market, in need of? And you be able to tell us that. Your marketing and sales strategy simply tells us how will you market your solution in your particular industry, and how will your customers find you? How will sales occur? Information at the summary level in terms of your marketing and sales strategy. We'll also ask you for very high level financial projections. A startup is going to change many times. Those projections will change many times, but we like to have an understanding of what are some of your financial assumptions and what might be your 1 to 3 year high level financial projections. And then we do ask you to include a short, no more than 3-minute video. It needs to include you as the founder or founders, just kind of telling us a little bit about yourself, just so we get a feel for who you are and why are you passionate about this particular business that you're building. So you will include your application and the video. I wanted to introduce to you a wonderful woman. So Maggie Harlow, she is quite well known in the Louisville community and beyond. But if you don't know her, Maggie is herself an entrepreneur. She and her family have Sinorama Louisville downtown as their family business, among some other businesses. But Maggie is joining us this year in her second year as our selection committee chair. So I wanted to be sure that you knew Maggie. We are so thrilled to have her. She has in the past been part of the selection committee. She has been a mentor to some of our Vogt Award companies. She is a great supporter of the Community Foundation and in particular the Vogt Awards program. So we're thrilled to have her return as our selection committee chair. And speaking of our selection committee, there are 2 rounds of selection. We just call them round 1 and round 2. In round 1, they are tasked with determining the finalists. The finalists will advance to round 2 for consideration. Both rounds are going to use the same scoring rubric, which you see right here. So they're going to be scoring the written application in round 1. And then in round 2, they'll look at the written application as well as the in-person presentations and score them accordingly. So they're looking for the leadership. Do the founder or founders really understand the problem that you all are solving for? They want to get a feel that you care passionately about solving this problem, that this is the biggest thing going in your startup businesses. You must solve this problem, and why you care about it so much. We do want to know that we have a cohesive, great cohort. And so we want to get a sense that you and your co-founder, if there is one, are coachable, and that your team can actually execute and scale the business, meaning grow the business over time. They certainly want to get a feel for the fact that your product or your solution that you're presenting solves a real pain point for your customers in terms of the solution. We want to know that you have validated the market. So describing your customer discovery process, your results so far, what you have learned from that will be important as far as validation. Is your market large? It's a big market. Is it large? Do you have an understanding of how you're going to address that market? Are customers actually willing to pay for your product or service, right? In terms of advantage, this is where you want to tell us how your solution is unique. How is it unique? Where do you have a competitive advantage in the marketplace that makes you stand out and very distinct from your competitors, and where customers are driven to look for your solution? We mentioned scalable, which just simply means that this business can grow. This is meant to be a large company someday. You're creating perhaps a new market. You're disrupting an existing market. You have a solution and a team that can execute on scale and growth. We want to understand that. And then eventually, that you'll have an economic impact in our Louisville community. We hope that your business will be eventually venture backable or investable so that you have capital to grow down the line, and that ultimately your business can have an economic impact on our region, right? And economic impact means that you'll be able to create jobs, that those in turn will allow for payroll taxes to our region, that you will have the ability to attract new and differing talent that you require to your business. All of that leads to then indirect impact or investment in our Louisville startup community. So those are the 7, I believe, items for which every application will be reviewed and scored. These are just some key dates that you'll want to make note of here. Please know that our application portal closes June 9th. So June 9th at midnight, make sure that you have clicked on the submit button so that we get that before the deadline. So June 9th. For those 10 finalists that are selected as a finalist, they will participate with us in person for what we call Selection Day. That is round 2. That will require in-person presentations and then small group interviews. That's what happens on Selection Day. It's not the full day. It's from about 10 until 3 o'clock in rotation with you. And that is scheduled for August 7th. So if you are selected as a finalist, we'll expect to see you August 7th for Selection Day. August 14th is when we are ready to rock and roll with the new cohort. We're going to have an onboarding day, which is kind of like an orientation for what's ahead. We'll have headshots. We'll be gathering quotes, testimonials, lots of fun things like that. It's a great fun day for the cohort to get to meet each other. And then our program starts. We begin on August 21st. And we will go for 10 weeks until October 23rd. On Thursday afternoons, we meet in person each Thursday afternoon from noon to about 5 p.m. And we hold those in-person program days at Story in the Nulu neighborhood. So those are in person and those are required. And then finally, we've got time where we're just working toward Demo Day, which is November 13th. We'll have a number of practice sessions for those final presentations. That happens October 24th to November 12th. And as I mentioned, big, community day where we are ready to celebrate our cohort and all the progress that each of the startups have made through the Vogt Awards. November 13th, Demo Day, and that'll be at the Kentucky Derby Museum.
Lisa, we have a question.
All right, go ahead.
How many years out do you want the financial projections to be? Back to the application.
Yeah, that's a great question. It does not have to be any more than 3 years. We know that you really can't project much further than that. We want to understand your financial assumptions, and then to the best of your ability, your financial projections. And we know that's going to change. But just if you can give us ballpark idea, kind of where you're at in those projections, that'll be very helpful. All right. I'm going to jump over and I'm going to just show you the website and a few pieces of information there that I want you to take note of. You can type votawards.com in your browser and it will take you right to the vote page on the Community Foundation's website, and it looks just like this. And then I'm going to also show you a little bit about the application portal, and we'll go through the questions that are actually asked in the application itself. All right. So let me.
Lisa,
yes.
Sorry, before we get over to the actual physical application, we have a couple more questions.
Okay.
If you have two founders, do both founders have to be available for the in-person selection day?
No, both founders do not need to be available for selection day. We only require one. It's great if we can have two, the co-founders, but they do not have to be present. Only one actually needs to speak or present. It can be two people or more who actually present the information if invited to selection day, but it only needs to be one.
And then the next one is we are currently operating out of an LLC in good standing with Kentucky, but we will register a new corporation in the coming months before the accelerator program begins in August. Is that okay?
That is fine.
Yep.
That is fine. Yes, certainly a name change and a different organizational structure is perfectly fine.
All right, we are all caught up.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing so I can now jump over. And we're going to go to the website. All right. We can see the website here. Yes. Good.
We can see it.
Okay. Remember, you're going to type in votawards.com. You'll know you're in the right place when you see the Community Foundation logo in the upper left. And of course, you're going to see Vogt Awards right there on the home page. So you are in the right place here. This is just some background information that you'll want to read through about the legacy and history of the Vogt Awards. Anywhere that you see the word application where there is a link, it will take you right to the application. And remember, June 9th is our deadline to submit your application before midnight. Keep in mind also that if you are a repeat applicant, we are asking that you create a new application from the very beginning because we do change the questions each year, and we also have changed our scoring rubric a bit. So we want to make sure we have the latest and greatest about your business. So if you are a repeat applicant, that's perfectly fine, but know that you'll need to start a new application for this year's cohort. You are here right now. We are in the information session, so that is awesome. Here's some good information about last year's cohort and a little bit. You'll want to read the blog that Maggie Harlow, our selection chair, has prepared for you. And as you keep scrolling down on this same first homepage, you'll come down here to apply for a Vogt Award. You'll see that nice box there. If you click on that, there's information I'll share with you here, how to apply. We have several testimonials. Again, anywhere you see the word application, you can get to it by clicking on that link. Here's 3 areas of information. The timeline, which I just went through with you, the key dates, they're right there for you. The eligibility criteria, which we just went through, is right here. And then importantly, FAQs, right? Frequently asked questions. If you click on that, you'll see a document comes up, and this is going to give you excellent definitions, examples of various different terminology that we use in the startup world that we want to make sure you understand. So wherever there may be wording or phrasing about startup businesses, like what is an early prototype? What do we mean by developing innovative product or service? What does it mean to use technology in your product or service, etc.? All of those are explained and described in the frequently asked questions. So do take a look at that. It's a couple of pages, maybe about 4, of some excellent frequently asked questions we've been asked over the years. And then if you click the back button, it takes you straight back to the website. And then, as I mentioned, at the end of the program, we have Vogt Awards Demo Day. So those are just a few of the items I wanted to share for you. And can you all see now the GUST application?
Yes, we can.
Oh, perfect. All right. When you click on any of the application links, you will come to a different platform. You will come to the GUST platform. This is our application portal. You'll know that you're in the right place after you provide an email address and a password so you can log in. You're in the right place when you see the Community Foundation logo again. You see all of last year cohort, happy smiling faces. And this is now additional information about the Vogt Awards. And when you click on Submit Your Company, that is where you start the application right there. Okay, so it's got this nice banner, Community Foundation, you're in the right place. It'll just remind you of information about the program, but Submit Your Company is where you'll go. Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing this and I will share the last thing with you that I have, which is actually the questions. Okay. Now, there is, this is admittedly, this is a lengthy application. There's a lot that we want to know about your business. We want to really have a good feel for it so that both of our round 1 and our round 2 judges can score it accordingly. So know that, and I will plan to kind of go through this. Some of it is very straightforward and simple, and some will take a bit of thought. But here's what I want you to remember. Generally, the feedback we have gotten about our application is that while it is more in-depth than others, because this is an important program about your business, it is an excellent exercise to think through your business in this particular viewpoint. So it is very much worth the time and effort to prepare your application. And at any time, you can complete the application, you can leave the GUST application portal, you can come back to it. We don't see anything until you hit the submit button at the very end. So don't forget to do that. So in the overview section, you'll tell us just very high level the company basics. What is your company name? Give us your elevator pitch or that 1-sentence description and some basic information about your company. Importantly, tell us who the contacts are for the business. If you have established a new email address that you're using for this particular startup that you've created, make sure it's one that you are checking because it is how we will communicate with you. So be sure that you are checking that new email and the additional information you provide. We want to know all your social media channels that you're using for the business, if you have them. Give us a good overview, just a company summary, which is helpful. And then, as I mentioned, tell us about your team. Who's on your management team, and tell us a bit about their experience and how they are valuable to your business. Next, we'll ask you about the problem that your business is solving for. We want to have a feel that you really understand that customer problem well and that you are passionate about solving that problem. Your target market is about the geography, the demographic information, the characteristics that define the market that you're going after. Within that market, tell us about your ideal perfect customer. Give us the profile or the persona, as it's called sometimes, about your target customer and why are you targeting them. Your business model is going to tell us how you're going to make money with this particular business and how will you deliver your solution into the marketplace and what does your business model look like. Your competitive advantage, why are you unique in the market? What makes you stand out and distinct from your competitors? Then you'll actually tell us about your product or service that is your solution, and what can your customer expect to gain or benefit by being able to utilize your product or service. Your sales and marketing strategy tells us how will you acquire customers? How will customers find you? How will they get to you? And how will you keep them? This is often known as how do you get, keep, and grow your customers. Tell us about how you'll promote the product, etc., in order to gain market awareness. And then we do want to hear in your market, who are the other competitors in your market space? And so if you have a competitive landscape or you know some of their strengths and weaknesses, we would like to know that as well. We have 3 questions pertaining to financials. If you are currently raising outside funding, tell us about that funding round. If you have raised money in the past, how much have you raised and how did you utilize those funds? And if you haven't, that's fine. And then finally, this is where you'll provide to us your financials, only up to 3 years, your financial projections. We have some very specific custom questions in the application, very much specific to the Vogt Awards program. So first, the team section. Why are you all passionate about solving this problem? If you'll provide the links from LinkedIn for each of the founders, and then who are the additional team members that you have and what are their positions in the company? In the product and service section, we want to understand the milestones that you expect to reach in your product development plan, your product roadmap. What do some of those milestones or targets look like in that development plan? And then if you have applied for any patents or any other intellectual property, have you? And if you have, are they provisional or non-provisional? If you haven't, that's fine. In the marketing and sales section, if you have customers, tell us how many. If you have users, if you have paying customers, tell us how many you may have. And then tell us your strategy for best gaining sources of new leads for your customers. What has proven to be the best or that you plan to be the best strategy to gain those new leads for potential customers? Do you currently have a model of recurring revenue, meaning customers pay every month, every year, or is it a one-time purchase? Potentially they could be repeat business. So tell us a little bit about that. If you have customer revenue, tell us what the revenue was for each month for the last 12 months. And then if you have any expenses that you have spent in terms of sales and marketing this past year, what are the total expenses relative to sales and marketing? What is your sales and marketing strategy? And then if you know, what do you expect to spend or what does it take you in expenses to acquire one new customer when you're eventually at scale or growth? And then your gross margin for your product or service. So as you take your revenue minus expenses, generally, what is your net profit or gross margin? So importantly, in terms of the funding area, we will want to understand, how do you plan to use the $25,000 grant funding should you be a recipient? What is the best use of that funding? How will that funding help your business and what will you achieve with it? And then if you're going to need further funding than the $25,000 grant funding, what is that funding strategy look like? How will you obtain the additional funding you may require to continue pursuing your business forward? Then we're just going to do a check. Have you collected more than $250,000 in customer revenue in this last single year? Yes or no? Have you received more than $1 million in outside funding for your company? Yes or no? That's just a double check. And then finally, you're going to tell us what county your business resides in, either in Kentucky or Indiana. There's a drop-down list for that. Okay. So now I am going to stop sharing, and I am here until you need me to be to answer any and all questions that you might have. You can either drop them in the chat and Donna will facilitate that for us, or you are welcome to come off camera if you'd like to. If you'd like to unmute and ask the question, that's fine too. Because you're here today, I have a special gift for you. Because you're here today and you've signed up for this info session, I'm going to send you the Word document, the Word version of the application, so that you can begin to prepare your responses. And then I love the idea that you could just copy and paste right into your Vogt Awards application, and hopefully that'll save you a little time. So what can I answer for you?
We do have a couple in the chat. The first one is, if your company has 2 founders, only one founder needs to attend the weekly sessions during the accelerator program, correct?
That is correct.
Correct. Yes.
In an ideal world, we would love to have both of you there. There's a lot of value in both co-founders being present. But we know that that's not always possible, right? We are very cognizant that your business is of the stage where you may still be holding, other jobs, other obligations, things like that. Your co-founder may not be in our Louisville region. We understand that too. But we would love to have both for any or all or part of the program, if that is possible. But a co-founder must be present at each of the Thursday program days.
The only other thing that I'll add on to that is that we are focused specifically on founders as opposed to potential employees of your organization. So if we have, for instance, a session on UX or UI design, and you have a UX or UI designer on staff, we would still prefer the founders to take part in that session rather than your employees specifically focused on that duty. So just, again, kind of like manage expectations.
We have 2 more questions, and then Greg has his hand raised. The first one, to confirm, there is not an operating history requirement to apply other than being a Kentucky, Indiana registered business in good standing, right? In other words, your startup does not need to have had any 2024 historical financials in order to apply.
That is true.
Yes.
That is
Okay.
true. Yes.
And then the next, do consultants, contractors count as team members that we need to include on the application?
Please include your contractors because they often play a pivotal role in the business, but note them as a contractor. And then if you have advisors or consultants, those can be noted. You're certainly welcome to share that with us, but please note them accordingly so we get a true understanding who is with the business, who is contracted to the business, and where are you getting outside counsel.
And then Greg, if you want to ask your question.
Sure, thanks so much. I'm going to have a pre-revenue C Corp that's a holding company for what will be a platform of LLCs. And we have one LLC that is the current product and market we're going after. A second will come on board over the time of this application. I want to make sure as I submit things that it's okay, or if there's a way to provide some backstory where some of the websites and social media won't match the company name because there's this tiered approach. Is there anything that I need to note specifically so that there's less confusion, or that was it?
So be sure that we know which company is applying, and that is the one that is actually registered with the Secretary of State, so that we are referencing the right company. We've got the right company. If there are others that you are looking at in the future, and as you said, it's a parent company, please note that in the application, but we've got to make sure we are aware of who's registered with the Secretary of State and going through the Vogt program.
Understood. I would have the
Yep.
parent company, which would be the one registered. It's
Right.
just the websites will come up with different names than the parent
Mhm.
company. And
Yep,
so,
and you can put
so
that in your company summary as well as the
okay.
description of the business. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
You're welcome.
Tang, you're up next.
Hi, Lisa. Yeah, I'm not sure about the headquarter requirement. Speaker, we just built the MVP and we don't generate revenue. But I live in Jefferson County. I operate the company here. So, I'm trying to know if I'm qualified for for this program or not.
So let me make sure I understand the question. The question is that you're wondering about the product that you are developing. It's still in development, but it's
No,
not generating revenue.
No, I'm wondering about the headquarter requirement.
You're in Jefferson County, right?
Because the company was registered in another county, Richmond is
I
not
see.
in Jefferson
Gotcha.
County.
Yes. So here's how we handle that. There are times when we have businesses that specifically move to our region to be located here to participate and take advantage of this opportunity. So I would encourage you to change your business registration, if you choose, with the Secretary of State to one of the eligible counties for this program at the time that you apply. You can do that. It's a change of address right on the Secretary of State form, if that makes sense for your business, right? If it doesn't make sense for you to move the company and you're outside of our region, we understand that's okay, but you would not be eligible unless you're in our Louisville region along those counties that we listed.
So it depends on the registration address,
yes,
right?
I will check the registration to verify that you are within one of our eligible counties. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is. Lindsay, you're up next.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks again for the time.
Hi.
Good to see you. Just one quick question on the safe structure being new for this year. Obviously, you guys now being positioned as more as an investor as well as, kind of a grant giver. Those are kind of two different muscles and they want two different things. And I'm thinking about how has the criteria on paper, qualitatively and on paper changed now that you guys are really thinking about upside and like being a true investor with your safe note? How has that changed criteria, this year compared to previously?
So really the only purpose that we looked for there is that knowing that $25,000 in non-dilutive funding can only take you so far, and we are very much interested in scalable and growth potential companies, and that's why the desire to have another additional funding mechanism or source. We know that most of the companies that are selected to the cohort will continue and will probably raise additional funds, so we get you started on that path. But it is optional, right? If now's not the right time, if it is not, the funding is not necessarily needed right now, you don't have to take that additional safe note equity investment unless it makes sense. You get the grant funding, but every company selected to the cohort can make that decision about the additional 25,000 through the safe note if it makes sense.
And maybe I'm gonna follow up with one other thing. Lindsay, just for clarity, the Community Foundation will not be the issuer of the safe note. This is an external program partner who we've worked out a relationship with, where what we basically went to them with was, hey, we have this program that has an incredible legacy and incredible history of selecting really good companies. Would you be interested in issuing a safe note to eligible companies that fit your criteria? And they said yes. So effectively, the relationship here is like,
you're doing their diligence. Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah,
and there's still some other processes that selected companies will have to go through to access that capital. But what we wanted to get through was basically the discretionary filter that program partner might apply to say, like, we understand that you've selected these companies, but we aren't interested in investing in them. We wanted to cut through that process and cut through that layer a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. It's an awesome opportunity. So thank you for explaining
Great.
it further.
Thanks, Lindsay.
We're excited to have it.
Oh, something just popped up in the chat. Do we know yet what the terms of the safe note are? Valuation cap and discount rate? Question mark. Thanks.
That'll be determined by one of two things. If this is the first outside equity investment for a business, then it will be under the traditional terms that community partner will deliver, and that'll be discussed with the founders. If you have raised money previously, then they will take into consideration what those prior terms are, and kind of fall in line with that with you. So that'll be on a one-on-one case-by-case basis.
I don't think I'm saying something too out of turn when I say this, but I'm fairly certain that they are using the sort of most favored nations safe note template that Y Combinator set up. So, pretty traditional.
What else can we answer?
Well, y'all, if there's nothing left, thank you all for your hour. We are absolutely here to support you as you go through this journey. I'll say this, but I'll also type it in chat. Feel free to stay in touch with Lisa and I as you go through this process. We want to ensure that we are here and available. My direct email address is justin.h@cflouisville.org. And we have a sort of Vogt Awards email that Lisa and I both monitor that is votawards@cflouisville.org. That's effectively Community Foundation of Louisville, but just cflouisville.org. We are, again, I know I'm continuing to say this, we are here to support you all. So we look forward to getting your applications. This is one of my favorite times of year to be able to, go along this process with you all. Lisa, you wanna take the final words?
I appreciate that you all have taken this time today to share with us. I always have thought about the Vogt Awards as this, great opportunity for you all to invest in yourselves, in your business, in your startup. Know that as we proceed through the process with you, you come into a wonderful family of outstanding businesses, and that network is invaluable. And you should also know that even if not selected, I am always here to provide resources and assistance outside of the Vogt Awards for anyone on a one-on-one basis. That is the beauty of the Louisville startup community. And, as we say, give first. And so that's what we certainly like to do. But this is a great opportunity of philanthropic dollars now together with equity dollars helping to propel, some really pretty special companies forward.
Awesome.
Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, everyone. Hopefully the sun stays out and we get to avoid some of this rainy weather we've been getting recently. So thanks a bunch. Looking forward to getting your applications.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Don't forget
you.